Who among you has watched the hearth fire sink low while both hands that once fed it walk the same path at dawn?
The imbalance begins when the second pair of strong arms leaves the household before the dew lifts from the grass. The morning meal is taken in haste.
The youngest child learns to tie the gate alone.
The elder who once sat by the door now sits without a voice to answer. In the field, the furrows grow uneven.
One set of hands cannot turn the soil as two once did, and the seed falls where the wind carries it rather than where the line was drawn.
By midday, the younger workers notice the rows beside theirs already thinning.
They do not speak of it yet, but their eyes return to the same unfinished edge each time they pass.
At the riverbank, the women who once washed together now meet only at dusk. The baskets stand half full.
The talk that once passed knowledge of which roots heal and which spoil now passes in fragments.
One woman carries her own load and her neighbor's forgotten portion.
She does not complain, yet the next morning she leaves her own basket lighter, so the work will finish before dark. Seasons turn.
The child who once watched the boundary stones now walks past them without stopping to check the markers.
The stones remain, but the memory of why they stand where they stand begins to fade in that one household.
The elders notice the child's hands are smooth where callus should already show.
They say nothing at the evening meal, yet the silence at the table lengthens.
In the workshop, the loom stands idle longer each day.
The thread that once passed from grandmother to mother to daughter now waits on the beam.
When the mother returns from distant labor, her fingers are too stiff for the fine work.
The daughter watches and learns only the motion of tying knots that hold for a season rather than for a lifetime. The storehouse records the change first.
The grain that once lasted until the next sowing now runs low before the first frost.
Neighbors who once traded seed and labor now measure their own stores more carefully before offering help.
The offer still comes, yet it comes later and with fewer hands.
A question lingers at each turning of the year. When both strong backs leave the household at once, who remains to teach the youngest how the land answers when it is spoken to daily? The pattern spreads outward.
Households that once sent one worker to the distant fields now send two.
The paths between settlements grow busier at dawn and quieter at dusk.
The psalms that mark the turning of the soil are sung by fewer voices.
Children gather at the edge of the work circle and wait for hands that do not arrive until the light has already left the sky. Years pass.
The elder who once corrected the placement of each stone now sits without a child beside her to receive the correction.
The field that once fed 3 generations now feeds 2, and the third generation learns to measure its hunger rather than its harvest.
The boundary stones still stand, yet fewer feet walk the line that keeps them visible.
If the second pair of hands continues to leave each morning, the hearth will grow cold not from lack of wood, but from lack of those who know where the wood is stacked and why it must be stacked before the first snow.
The tools will remain sharp, yet no one will remain who remembers why they were sharpened in that particular way.
The lineage will not break in a single season.
It will thin, row by row, until the land itself forgets the names of those who once walked it together.
If the words spoken at the hearth have kindled an ember in the breast of kin who gather there, carry that ember outward along the paths that lead from the circle. Speak it to those who walk the same stones at dawn. Set rope and markers so the boundary stones remain visible to the child who follows, and tem the watch through each turning of the seasons, so the flame does not sink low against the wind.
Bring hands to the labor that feeds the fire, stand with the elders at the evening meal, and lay down small marks where the youngest may learn why the wood is stacked before the first snow, that the lesson may pass from one generation to the next, without the rows growing thin or the baskets standing half full.